Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Women's International Beer Summit 2022. And my name is Angie. I'm going to be moderating these lovely ladies. And what we're going to be talking about is being access and being authentic. So it's going to be probably from my left and maybe your right. So you may have to wave. So first, we want to introduce Ashley Randolph, and she is living in Las Vegas. She has opened a brewery called More Better Brews, and also is getting in a founding member of More Better Brews. Sorry, and and I'm gonna do my best because my Jamaican is getting better and better.
You gotta
Batwa,
let your backbone slip.
batwa,
Brata, brata.
brata
There you go.
brewing, one man. So opening in Jamaica, and she is also a member on the board for Pink Boots. So we're going to learn a little bit more about her. Then we also have Trinice Watts, who is a co-founder of Lifting Lucy, and other. She's dedicated to supporting Black Indigenous women of color. She is also a co-owner of Patuxent Brewing Company in Maryland, and the first craft brewery within Charles County, which is 100% Black-owned breweries in the state of Maryland. Then, last but not least, we have Sarah Perez, who is a phenomenal woman, just kind of going everywhere. She is homed in Hawaii. She's also part of Pink Boots as well. She's been doing this professionally for 4 years, starting 4 years ago, and she's just paving her way into craft beer and loving craft beer and going to seek different avenues for craft beer. So these are all wonderful women that you need to watch out for and make sure that you follow them. But we're going to have a little conversation today about being authentic. And what I wanted to make sure that everyone knows about Lifting Lucy. So, Lifting Lucy is a nationwide tax exempt organization that's committed to supporting underrepresented communities with brewing industry businesses. So, Black, Indigenous, and other women of color through various initiatives. So, Lifting Lucy partners and philanthropists, breweries, nonprofit, and others will support BIWOC along with their journey in beer. So they're also dedicated to fostering opportunities for those to increase development knowledge careers in the craft beer industry. So it's a lifelong time of education, networking, collaborations, and fellowship to elevate and make an evolution of the brewery industry. So, with that said, Sarah, I'm going to ask you a question first.
All
So,
right.
why is access important?
Hmm. All right. Yes. Thank you, Angie, so much for that wonderful introduction. We really appreciate you being here with us, and everyone else out here watching. This has been exciting. Um, I feel like having access to this, to what is this? This is craft beer industry. It's craft fermentation. It's creating different styles of beverages that are all around the world and all that
Mhm.
all of us are a part of. Having access is the catalyst for all BIWOC females and female identifying. It allows our community to grow. It allows all of us to embrace our spaces that we're in. And it's
Mhm.
imperative for each of us to make sure that we have a voice to be able to
Mhm.
build and understand from while creating this incredible confidence inside each and every one of us. Having the access into being a part of craft beer
Mhm.
is just the most important part that we each have. And that's not just by saying,
Mhm.
I have filled the docket, I have, a few by walk or, others on staff. I have this here, I have that there. That puts me into the catalyst. It's making sure that we're removing the barriers and the stereotypes that have always been out
Mhm.
there and creating a safe, acknowledged space for all of us. allowing us to say, I am a Black female brewer, or I am a Black brewer, or a brown
Yeah.
brewer, or I am a
Yeah.
Hispanic or Filipina or um,
Mhm.
Japanese, anything that how you feel your representation is and what it means to you and how you see yourself on a daily basis, how you walk in the door, having that access is imperative. Not creating a space
Mhm.
for us and for all of us to continue to have is just it's it's just it's archaic and old. Um,
Mhm.
Creating that
Mhm.
authentic representation, I think will also help us make sure that that is a catalyst as well. But allowing us to each have the advancements, the education, that we're creating the opportunities that are there, um, pulling back from having the imposter syndrome stereotyped on top of us. And,
Mm.
and that is something that is really, really hard in this industry. And every day you get up and every day you're functioning, and every day you're still a woman. Every day I'm still a Black woman. Every day I wake up and I know that I'm going to
Mhm.
be running up and down the stairs at my brew house and, doing the job and doing the work. But on top of it, when someone walks around the corner, they're going to be shocked every time that I'm the one behind the helm. I'm the one brewing
Mhm.
this beer. I'm the one doing the job, doing the work. And instead, it shouldn't be such a shock. It should be
Mhm.
obvious. It should be very relevant and very apparent that with as much education and time and dedication that I myself, and I know each of every one of us, 15 years in this industry, and I'm just now feeling like I'm finally being seen and having that access. So I walk around with the biggest smile on my face every single day, Angie. Every single day, I have tears of joy and tears of increased knowledge,
Mhm.
and that's because I'm finally in a space where I feel my Black joy and who I am is shining through with the access and the opportunity that I have right
Mhm.
now at Maui Brewing Company. So I want everyone to have this joy, everyone to feel this just for one moment. And hopefully we'll be able to start creating and dispelling creating a better opportunity for so many of us to be able to be a part of this. So, yeah.
That's wonderful being that beacon of hope for people who didn't believe that they could do this. So that's a wonderful thing. So, Trinice, I wanted to know, I was thinking about what factors should be considered when we're embarking on these initiatives to increase access. So, what, as far as interest in the audience, what would they think?
I'm actually curious to think or to find out what the audience or the people here participating, what they think are the factors that should be considered. I have a few, and I'm going to try to stay on task because I can get passionate. But my first one, when I'm thinking about factors to consider when
Uh,
increasing access, is should you even consider embarking on an initiative to increase access? We
mhm.
need real solutions for real problems. These are
Mhm.
real problems that real people have. And so let's
Mhm.
backtrack. If you don't really think that there is an issue with access for women, particularly women of color, then your
Mhm.
initiative is not going to be effective nor efficient. We're talking
Mhm.
about $8 billion right now just from a few corporations in DEI engagement, and it's not working because we need to make sure that we are understanding that there are real problems that need real solutions. So
Mhm.
that would be my first one. And it's because output is only as good as the input. Lifting
Mhm.
Lucy has the task of looking at a host of factors like financial barriers, language barriers, learning
Mhm.
styles, racism, nationalism, the colorism within the nationalism, ageism, and gender equality. All of these are factors, and they dictate how we choose to give access, where we choose to give access, and when we choose to give access. Stakeholder engagement. That's why it's so important because you need that boots on the ground, but you also need that bird's eye view so that you understand that this is bigger than just having one person open up a brewery. We're talking about the socioeconomic function of a large industry. and how that can really affect the socioeconomic function of a community, a state, a nation. So that's number one. Number two is, will you be the wind beneath a woman of color's wings? Will you make sure that we can fly? Because we can fly, and you can help us fly far and fly high. Um, do you have no fly zones where you're going to smack us down back to the earth and then now we got to fly with a broken wing, a bruised little beak? We don't need that. And you don't need that either. It's a disservice to you and it's a disservice to us in our communities. So that's another thing, letting us tell our stories. If you see someone who has 100 likes, but they've been doing the research and work for years, invest in that. You don't have to throw $500,000 to implement a program at your corporation when they're already doing the work and they can probably do it more efficiently. And then guess what? You have amazing loyalty just from spending less money investing in them sometimes. So that's another way. Um, Also, not reinventing the wheel. Lifting Lucy is not here to reinvent the wheel. We have people like Crafted for All, Crafted for Action, the AHA, the BA, Pink Boots, MBAA, the list goes on and on. And they all have opportunities. We are here to make sure that women of color have access to those opportunities first and foremost. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We do need support because we want to make sure that we can be far reaching in our in how we're giving that access to people. But for people online right now, especially if you're starting, think about the fact that Pink Boots has a $40 membership. Lifting Lucy wants to make sure that you have that membership because then you're talking about thousands of dollars in scholarships and they're begging you to use these scholarships, right? Think about the BA. You don't have to be a member to become a part of the mentorship program. If you're accepted, guess what? You get 12 months of BA membership and you get all the resources and videos and tutorials that any other brewery would have. If you are a brewery owner or a manager, we're talking about 9,000 plus breweries just in the US, and most of them are BA members. Please log on to the Brewers Association, add your staff's name, and just like that, they have the resources, the tutorials, and everything else that you have access to. It is literally just adding their name to the resource you already have that you're paying for already. So these are the things that are running through my mind, as you can see, constantly, constantly. And it brings it back to WIBS. I got to see Tina because we need to be investing in this belongs to us. We have millions of little girls, older women. I'm gonna call myself an older woman, I'm a mature woman who need to see this. We want to see this. Um, a B-way at Tolakazi, there is no reason she shouldn't be overflowing with funds. Harlem Brew South, I could go on and on. But again, those are just the little things. And this is also why we're grateful to people like Athletic Brewing, Yakima Chief, because they didn't make us jump through a million hoops for a million years to really fund us and say, you know what, we trust you. We know that you know the people who need this funding, who need a little bit of supplemental help to get going where they need to. And we got you. And so we want to see more of that because we are boots on the ground and we also have the bird's eye view and we know where that money can function efficiently and effectively. So those are the things I'm going to ask first and foremost that you think about with initiatives. And then again, the last one I'm going to say is relationships. Um, are you telling people we go together? Like seriously, I want this to be a long-term relationship. And so if you're investing in increasing to access, I want to make sure that this is long-term because long-term investments, 9 times out of 10, yield better results, excuse me. Um, Social media is not the same as social interaction, y'all. I need long-term quality relationship care. And women out here, the people that are watching, that are attending, they need that loving care. They need that funding. Social media is excellent, but it's not it. So we need to take the beer goggles off when it comes to access. It helps it be lot less awkward when we are cringing and saying things like black. And we see it. We see you cringing. And we feel so bad because we don't want that for you. So the more that you interact, the less it'll be awkward when you have those conversations. You can say black, you can say queer, You can say Puerto Riqueñas. You can do it all because you're having those real interactions. Um, Also, want to talk about understanding what you think someone needs versus what they really need. And that comes again from getting off of social media sometimes and just calling someone up, emailing them if you have to, because I understand we're not all around each other, and asking them, hey, did you eat? Hey, is your family good? Hey, how are you hanging in there today? Because then you still are getting these tidbits that add up to the connections we need to solve real problems. I'm also going to talk about why social media is good too, because um, it's a great tool for me because a lot of times I don't know what's out there. But at the same time, social media, um, it's a tool that really allows me to grow and meet people internationally. So I don't want to take away from that, but I just want people to remember that social media is not the same as social interaction. And that's what we're trying to also instill when it comes to Living Loosely.
Well, I really love what you said, especially as far as like relationships, because that is something that I really also am very, very passionate about. If I know you on IG and I'm in your city, as the country people say, I need to lay eyes on you. I need to see
Oh, I got
you.
chills.
I need to see you because I feel that this relationship is real and it's off of social media. And that is very, very, very important. And that what helps with the bond. That it's not like, because people can make their own kind of identity on social media, but I need to see who the real who
Yeah,
you are. And
yeah,
you get to really get a good idea when you sit down and have a drink with someone. When you share a beer and a conversation, there is a bond that just cannot be broken. So I totally agree with that. So
absolutely.
I'm gonna come back to Sarah and ask and see. So what is authenticity? Why do you think it's so vital? You got your mic on. Get off mute. Yeah, you're on mute, Sarah.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
I know. I think about what authenticity is all the time because I suffer immensely from imposter syndrome. My sisters here know I'm the weepy crybaby. I'm the one. I am the. I struggle with this. So for me, that authenticity is the ability to recognize um, your strength, my strength, your strength, our strengths, and amplify and realize your value. Not only as a friend and as a mentor or as someone who can help you through your day, but your value in this career field as well. Understanding what your dollar amount is and what that compensation looks like on your paycheck every couple of weeks. Um, Understanding your weaknesses and your strengths and how you're able to utilize them in your day-to-day struggles. I had back surgery a few years ago. Some might say I have no business running up and down stairs, 20 flights of stairs every single day, but I still do it. Um, there's question of whether or not I have the ability to do some of the other tasks that I do on a daily basis. And I do it because I know what my strength is and I know what my weakness is, not only mentally, but also physically. Um, Authenticity to me has been making sure that I'm capable of learning my career field. It's not something that you just learn one time and then you're there, you're set, you're done. You don't have to go back to that. This is something that I have to live. I learn every single day. There's a new device, there's a new system, there's a new way of possibly doing that. Authenticity is understanding that maybe I'm not that great on computers and doing different types of situations, but yet I work in a almost completely automated brewery now. Understanding that it is going to take me a moment to educate my coworkers and allow them to understand where I've come from and how I'm working towards my end goal and what it is that I'm trying to improve. Every single day, I want to make sure that everyone walks in and loves their job. Feeling authentic about being happy at work is imperative to me. I don't want to walk in on eggshells. I don't want to walk around someone that isn't wanting to be there or doesn't love being there or doesn't have the passion and things that I have inside of me. So making sure that all of my coworkers have that feeling that I have every single day is something that I know authentically is me. And that's something that I'm able to pass along as I go into this craft beer industry across the nation and going further and wider and being a part of that is what I know I am capable of bringing. Having that authenticity to be positive about those types of roles and making sure that your value system isn't being slumped down by others when they walk in is what I see. Digging deep and learning to hold fast into your value system and creating that space for others to understand it. I That's how I'm feeling what authenticity is. Um, I feel that also understanding or having a cognitive empathy for others when you're in these places, kind of like what was Trinice was saying, I want people to be comfortable with saying I am black, or there's a black lady or this or that, and not have that moment of of cringe or unworthiness that they can't say those, address us in any way or address anyone in any way, as long as it's a positive way. I think that it is imperative to make sure that you have that value inside of you and that you're okay to put yourself in somebody else's position when it comes to being in this industry, and making sure that your um, your your understanding for yourself is your strength. That's going to strengthen your backbone. That's going to strengthen your shoulders. That's going to strengthen your neck. It's going to make you stand there and have that crown on perfectly every single time. And just making sure that that is passed along to others, that every day you're going to do onto someone else as you would want them to do onto you. So for me, having that authentic representation in the craft beer industry is making sure that others feel the love and the joy and the warmth, and create that ownership underneath that as well on the structure. So.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I that's really like something that I'm hoping that our audience and are taking to heart with uh, knowing how people feel and how they're wanting to bring out that same love of being authentic and in their own shells. So we haven't talked to Ashley, so I want to get you into the conversation. So Ashley, okay, over overcompensating or
Yeah.
silent signaling. What?
But before we go there, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
go
I
ahead.
just want to talk about authenticity for a minute. And I am showing up authentically today. I got up and I said, do I want to put makeup on? No. Am I going to do my hair besides a little bit bun? No. And I just really, it dawned on me while I was in the green room that I made that conscious decision because of the environment of the summit. And because I know I'm amongst my sisters and my peers that I don't necessarily, and there's been some conversations, in other panels about um, if you are perceived as, being somebody that's an outlier or whatever, and I'll get into that in a little bit. It's like, you go out of your way to make sure that you're really put together. And I didn't feel that pressure this morning. So I just want to thank all of you for making me feel that I can show up authentically with nothing but a clean and well moisturized face and my hair slicked back. It's just such a relief. So thank you. Sorry, Angie, but I needed
That's
to get that.
good. Hey, that's what you need, and that's what you should have, that welcoming place to be your authentic self. So I'm glad that you have listened to that, and you're in a space where it can really be real and not just lip service. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
with
Tamarine.
that
But
good skin.
Tamarine, it's Sunday.
So let me go ahead and rephrase the question again because I want to make sure that I get to you. So, overcompensating or silent signaling, what is that, or what is it? Something that we're doing, something that we shouldn't be doing? What is that?
Well, I don't want to say what somebody should or shouldn't be doing. Everybody's journey is different, everybody's process is different, and everybody's level of conditioning is different. Like, even right now, as I'm sitting here dancing and talking with my hands, I'm like, "Ooh, I didn't put on earrings." Right. And that's 30 plus years of conditioning that I had from my mom being like, "Where you going with no earrings on?" I'm like, nobody cares if I have earrings on. Nobody cares. But this is work that we all have to do individually. So I wouldn't tell somebody what they should do or shouldn't do. I'll just share my journey. And hopefully if something resonates with you, you'll find that inspiration to kind of have an evolution of your own, for lack of a better phrase. So there were some conversations that came up, not only with our great opening keynote, Julia Hertz, and talking about the best thing you can do is to get that education, build up your resume, so there is no question that your shit. Everybody's grown. Sorry, I'm gonna use colorful language. I know Hannah talked about that yesterday. Tinu, I believe, mentioned this a little while ago. And so, while on one hand, and again, this is just my experience, I'm not speaking for anybody else. On one hand, yes, you want to make sure that you know what you should know. Sorry, Melissa, I just said should, but you want to make sure that you come to the battle with all of your weapons or tools, for a lack of a better phrase, right? But for me, and I'm only speaking for myself, being an African American, and I mentioned it in Tinu's session a little while ago, like in my community, there is this concept of black tax. And for those of y'all that are not, see Angie, I know you know what that is. For those of you that are not familiar with this concept, it's in a nutshell that you have to be twice as good to go half as far. So I was very much that overachiever, and I don't think I got my first C until I was in law school, and I was completely gutted. I was like, "What is this? Like, I'm actually trying and I'm not getting straight A's anymore. What's happening?" And so I think, especially when you are being perceived as one of these three that I've heard a lot of during this conference so far, you have the unicorn, you have the trailblazer, and you have the outlier, right? And while these all sound like wonderful things, I am at the point in my life where I don't want to be magical. I just want to be me. I'm tired. This is one of the things that was brought up in our closing session yesterday. Like, for those of us that have been doing this work, we've been doing this work for a long time. It's very taxing. Like, Debbie mentioned a little while ago, like, some days it's a struggle for me just to put a bra on. Like, I just don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. And so, it's some of these things that for me can somewhat be a backhanded compliment. Like, "Oh, you're a unicorn." What is a unicorn? It's this mythical, animal that looks wonderful and pretty and fantastic and everybody is in love with, but you never see it because it's not real. At the end of the day, I'm just a woman. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And I think that's a lot of pressure to put on someone to identify them as like, "Oh, you're a unicorn," or as um, Hannah mentioned yesterday, being a trailblazer. Well, what is a trailblazer? That's somebody that is literally forging a path that has never been done there before. And when you make that decision, because nobody becomes a trailblazer by accident, you are literally saying, "I am willing to do this work. I'm willing to get cut up by the shrub and the brush and whatever bullshit I have to wade through, not only for me to get where I know I belong and where I deserve to be, but for the people that come behind me, so they won't have to take these hits and these cuts and these bruises. I'm going to do it for them." And I think for me, that's part of the beauty of my legacy, being an African American woman, and especially in my family, As many of you that are close to me know, my grandmother recently passed. And the one thing that really resonated with me with her is like her whole life, she did nothing but take care of everybody else. And by the time everybody was good, her life was over. And so that's something that really is resonating with me, is that balance of like, yes, I'm going to do for my people and I'm going to do for others, but I have to do for myself first. And self-care is a really, really big thing within the Lifting Lucy clique. For those of you that attended, our brunch that we did in February, we made sure that we had therapists there, right? And this thing about self-care and knowing that it's okay not to be okay, I think that gets lost, or that gets sacrificed for those of us that find ourselves in these positions where we have to do this work because either nobody else is doing it or nobody is doing it with the factors in mind that really are going to make that impactful work. And this whole thing about being an outlier, or like, oh, there's nobody else that's done what you've done. As we've heard in several presentations today, women of color have always been doing this. This is nothing new at all. We are not some like, oh my gosh, you're so special. No, we are tapping into the sacred knowledge that we have from all of our ancestors. So I'm really excited to see that narrative change, or even for someone in this summit, just to kind of have that in the back of your mind. Like, if you happen to see a new face that doesn't look like the other faces, like, have a conversation with them, but please don't start that with like, oh my gosh, you're a unicorn. Nobody wants to hear that. Don't do that. And the thing with being a unicorn that I was thinking about as I was preparing for this is, when you tell somebody they're rare or they're an outlier, right? Like, you're inherently implying that they are outside of their natural habitat. So how do you expect somebody to conduct themselves when they are outside of their natural habitat? A lot of that comes down to personality, but naturally, when you're outside of your quote unquote norm, you're going to be a little bit more protective of yourself. You're probably going to be a little bit more reserved. And I don't think that serves anybody. So again, setting up this narrative that, you have somebody from an underrepresented community and now they're there. But when you position them as being, in an environment that's not inherently theirs, just kind of think about that internal conversation that person may be having based on that perception or that narrative that's now been pushed upon them. Because I don't know what a unicorn's natural environment is. I wouldn't want to see a unicorn in a brewery. Like, I just imagine glittery poop everywhere. Like, nobody wants that. So yeah, there's that. When it comes to, overcompensating, on one hand, you've got the hard skills, for lack of a better phrase. You've got your knowledge, you've got your certification, you've got your resume, so to speak. But I think there are some soft skills for me personally that I've developed since I've been not only in this community, but other communities that I belong to. As much as I love craft beer, I probably love ska music that much more. I literally have a rude girl and rude boy skanking tattooed on my back. I have ska on my license plate. I have a black and white checkered couch, right? Now, I do these things because this is an affinity and it's something that's important to me. But being one of a few melanated faces when I was going to ska shows and punk shows, like, it was a way for me to say, I belong here. I know what's going on. Look at me. I'm wearing my Mephistopheles t-shirt. Like, obviously, I know what's going on. And that kind of silent signaling is definitely something that I've carried over into my involvement in the craft beer community. And a lot of that could be my own, subconscious, I don't want to say insecurities, but just life experience, knowing that people are going to come up to me and say really out of pocket things because I don't meet their expectations of what a woman in craft beer should look like. So, Angie, very much like you, I'm not in the brewery day in, day out. I am a brand ambassador for a huge multinational beer brand. And, it's one thing when people can physically see you making the products, like Sarah or Trinice literally retrofitting. I think you said, what was it, like lobster pots or something the other day? Nobody questions that. But for individuals like me and you, and I think there's a huge sector in the craft community of women who have so much to offer in the industry that's not the stereotypical this is what a woman's role or anybody's role in the craft beer industry should be. So when I'm, doing touch base with my accounts, or when, like I get paid to train people how to pour our beer in particular, and then I get stupid ass comments like, have you tasted this beer before? And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And that's when I politely go like this, because when I'm out in the beer world, especially professionally, I have my beer mask, I have my beer earrings, and some type of beer related, shirt. So it shouldn't even be a question, but it still ends up being a question. Um,
Do you like beer? Do you even like beer?
yes. Yeah. And I go, no, I love it. It's wonderful. And then I say, but I really love my beer like my men. And then that throws them completely off, because they're like, ooh, do I go there? What do I say? And then that usually shuts the conversation down. But yeah, even those questions like, do you love beer? And I'm very thankful that I am an employee of Duvel. They've been a phenomenal company for me, and just the way that they have handled me being a part of their company. I'll just share a story really quickly. Um, I applied to over 30 craft beer jobs here in Las Vegas. I'm not going to name no names, but I did. And I was really hitting a wall, because I kept getting, people were just looking at my resume and saying, oh, you got 2 law degrees and you're currently working as a teacher and you teach hula dancing. Like, we can't do anything with this. Like, no. And so when I applied for a position with Duval, they called and they're like, so we looked at your resume. And you're like, no. But then we actually read your cover letter and saw how much you love about craft beer and all the things that you're doing independently to educate yourself. And we're like, hell yes, this is the type of person we need. So I say all that to say, if you are in a position where you're able to hire someone, or you're able to create an opportunity, a mentorship, whatever it is, like, think outside of the box and realize everybody has transferable skills that belong in this industry. What you can't teach is passion. What you can't teach is dedication. And if you have somebody showing up, especially someone that does not present as, what your current employee base looks like, please, please, please weigh that heavily. That I'm sure Sarah can testify, the technical aspects that can be taught, but that passion, that drive, and that longing to be a part of this community, like that weighs out in spades. Um, and then with the silent signaling, it's one of those things. Um, it reminds me of, I'm going to age myself. Does anybody here remember Tchotchkes, the restaurant in Office Space? Yes, no. Trinice, I know you do. Okay. So it's like, it's that balance. Like, I don't want to walk around looking like I work at a beer themed tchotchkes. I don't need to have a hat and the earrings and the buttons and the do, right? And there are some people that take it to that level. And I'm by no means, judging anybody, but it's like that balance. Like, how do I show my love for this community, show that I belong in this community, and I'm here because of my, my, not, I don't want to say merit, but I've made a path for myself here, and not go on the far end of looking like I work at tchotchkes. That's a balance sometime. But I think ultimately, and there are some other conversations that we've had outside of here, I feel like, for me personally, I'm very intentional about the beer swag that I put on. I'm always repping either Lifting Lucy or other minority owned beer brands. I know, Angie, we had an initiative where for the whole month of February, we were buying minority owned swag. And so it's not only to signify like, these are my people and we're a part of this community, but it's a way to show support outside of just going on site and consuming beer. So yeah, silent signaling, I think it's something most of us do. I still do it. It's something that I'm a bit more conscious of, and especially that overcompensating. I feel like I've done enough work to prove to anyone, not that I have to prove shit, but I feel like my reputation, the work that I do, the relationships that I have, far precede anything that I could put on a piece of paper right now.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Um, Yeah, I think I'll be more conscious of it seeing, you bringing that out as far as like silent signaling, how we, innately do it and not be really acute to it. So, okay, that's really good. So, we're coming up to a close, but I wanted to ask one last thing, couple last things. So, um, why is doing the work important to access and authenticity? What do you think about that, Trinice?
Mm, hmm. It's doing the work is important on a lot of levels, but for me in particular, when it comes to reading, which is fundamental, and research, it's important. You have to get out there and do the work. I think someone mentioned this yesterday. Um, we want to know that we are all accountable. So you're not just reaching out to historically under marginalized groups and asking them to give you all of this information for free, to travel, to be a part of these things, these amazing events that bring in a lot of money for free, and have them do all of the educating for you. That takes no accountability in the real scheme of things. It doesn't help with the responsibility in the grand scheme of things. And so we need people doing the real work, just on a basic level of reading and researching. Washington Post used to have a old slogan: "If you don't get it, you don't get it." And you can't get it. You cannot get the fundamental understanding it takes to increase access or make sure that there is authenticity in programs and products if you're not reading and researching for yourself. Set up Google alerts if you have to. Definitely talk to people because we're all here for it. But take the time to do the work on your own. Reach out to these local organizations that are right beside you. That homeless shelter that's right beside your brewery when I come to visit. Make sure that you're following up with them, not just once, not just Black History Month, every month. See what's going on with them and where you have alliances, where you have synergies, where you have things that connect with each other, that make that community a better place for everyone. Um, so doing the work is important, but another thing I want to talk about is, and I've been talking about it a lot lately, um, it kind of helps curb that bit of self-righteousness we all get from time to time. It's none of our faults, really, because social media has given everyone an opinion that matters. But we need people doing the work on their own because it'll prevent some of that wokeness that has become a disease at this point. If you're not reading, if you're not taking the time out to learn who I am personally, if you're not taking the time to learn who these amazing people are who are attending personally, you can come up with all kinds of crazy things in your mind. And that prevents access. If you're inciting misinformation on an organization, a person, a corporation, you're preventing access to that because then you have a whole group, hundreds, thousands sometimes, of followers who are listening to you and entrusting that you're saying what you're saying is true. And if you don't know what you're supposed to know and you're giving those people information, that absolutely hinders access to the opportunities that are already right here. And we have $1 billion worth of them right now, waiting for people to utilize. So please do the work. I'm doing the work every day. I'm not perfect. I got kids who help me do the work because they have friends who are different than how my friends grew up. And they, nah, ma, come on now, look, that was back in your day. Let me teach you something. And you have to be open to it. Same with people who are much older. If a 60-year-old woman walks in the brewery right now and she asks, hey, is there anything for me to do here? Come on in, please. Come on in. So do the work, y'all. Do the work because it's going to help in the long run. We all need each other. I'm going to get corny for a minute, but I want you to think of it like this because someone mentioned that, if you're supporting this organization, you can't support this organization. And I don't want people to have that worldview. I don't want women to have that worldview where they think white women should be protected and black women should be strong. That's not how it goes. And it's not the truth for white women because they go through the same shit a lot of times that we go through. We are all women and we have to be strong by, what was it said at the brunch? By circumstance, not because we want to. It's not by choice. So we need to change that worldview, and that means investing in both terms. So I'll take my mother, for example. She has a black presenting daughter, and she has a white presenting daughter. If there's a fire and she needs to rescue her babies, which one do you all think she's going to rescue first? Both. They're both her babies. We're going to go through the fire for everyone because they're all our babies. We all want to spread that love. And so, again, doing the work means that you'll understand why everyone matters. Every single one of you matters. Your organizations matter, your breweries matter, your positions as supporting businesses for breweries matter. Whatever you're doing, it matters to us because it's all needed and it all has to be integrated in a way that works for everyone so that we're getting the access and the true authenticity like WIBS is doing, getting us to see the international views, the national views, the regional views. Do the work for yourself, you all, and I'll continue to do the same for me.
Well, amen. As I said, the pastor is preaching today, and it has been full. I mean, so full and rich. So we're going to open up for questions. I see that there's one already here. So, do you want to do the call to action as well?
Yeah, I just want to say before we open up for questions, if anything we have said has inspired you, made you laugh, gave you something to think about, please reach out to us. We'll put our contact information in there. But as you see, we're all very gregarious characters and we love to talk. But really, I think all of us are hungry for more and deeper connections with our peers in this community, which is all of you. So please don't be shy. Um, we all smell good and don't bite. So so reach out, please. We'd love to connect with you. We do have some initiatives coming up. If you feel moved to support those initiatives, there's information on our website to do so.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, most definitely we'll have those things available to anyone, especially after people who do the rewatch will have the website to get in contact with you, as well as going to the website and seeing what great and wonderful things that are going on. So now, please, our people that are in the audience, if you have any questions, just go ahead and pop that in there. So let's see. This is from Debbie. So while we've discussed that this could be a entire presentation, can you address the tendency for women and Black, Indigenous women of color to associate our value to a company or employer and not recognize our own identity as it relates to access? It's a wonderful question.
For me, I think it goes back to a lot of that undercurrent that's been across some of these panels is, you can't be what you don't see. And going back to this whole unicorn thing and this misconception that women of color specifically, if we are in this industry, it's a complete fluke and somebody opened the door for us, somebody brought us along. And because of that, our success, our contributions are automatically linked and connected to that person that did us that solid. For those of you that have known me for a while, I always give credit where credit is due to my personal guides to the craft beer industry, which were a Caucasian couple from Australia. And I met them at my first beer industry ever. I went to school in Australia, so we had that instant connection. And what I always loved about them was, they educated me, they made introductions, but they never made me feel like where I have gotten in this community is because of them. They never take credit for it, so much so that they've asked me to stop acknowledging them publicly. But I'm not going to do that because the way that they handled my curiosity and my passion for professional and personal development within this community, it was so intentional and so respectful and so loving that I can't not share that with the entire world. So sorry, Steph and Steve. But yeah, I think it just goes back to this concept. Let's take race out of it, for a minute. Just being a woman, when you are a woman in an industry that's very male dominated, and this whole glass ceiling and all of that business, your success is never your own because you are this rare unicorn, right? Somebody had to open up the cage and put you on a leash and drag you in the room. So that's my opinion. Sarah, what do you think?
Yeah, I guess I did something different this time around. When I put my resume out there this last year and realized that I needed to get out of Alaska quickly. In my cover letter and in parts of my resume, I included that I'm a Black female brewer, that I'm not afraid to do the work and put in the work, and that I have been doing the work and putting in the work. That was part of who I am, and um, having that as a part of my understanding of who I am and how my identity is incredibly important to me, and that I wanted to make sure whoever it was that is going to hire me knew and understood that I, I'm I'm not going to not put that in there anymore. I'm not going to leave that off. Um, and I feel that when on the interviews that I did go through and the processes that I did go through, I think that it was imperative and it was important. And my current boss and friend, Kim, she definitely patted me on the back, saying, that was important for me to see as well as a woman in this industry and as a Filipina and as a just a hardcore activist of making sure that we all have voices and that we're all seen and heard. And so yeah, I do feel that that is incredibly important. But yeah.
I'm gonna flip it back on you, Angie, because you're in the industry too.
So, well, for me, it's just continuing to see myself in the position where I am, um, being able to get those people that are really beer curious, because I don't know what it is with my face. It's just like people either want to tell me their life story or they want to just share something. And so when I take that and get their beer curiosity, kind of welcoming them in, and knowing that there is a place for them, especially women who desire to go to breweries or desire to go somewhere and know that it can be a nice place, and having that notion of knowledge, because sometimes we kind of like, I know this, but I feel apprehensive because I'm being mansplained by something. But knowing that you have those tools and giving those ladies those tools to say, you're here, you're welcome at the table, this is what you should be doing, and it's okay. um and that's literally what I'm doing today. It's like I've invited a lot of people to a bottle share, and it's a lot of women that beer, but I feel like, I'm Sam I am. You can have it on the boat, you can have it on this, you can do this. There's going to be something that you like, and I don't have a problem with helping you find it, because that's where I was. Yeah. But I don't see. That's the only question that I saw that was in the chat from another member of Lifting Lucy, Debbie. Hi, Debbie. So, um, is there anything else y'all want to sign off with?
There is actually
Uh,
another question, but it's for Trinice, and I can't get her back online, unfortunately.
oh, okay. Um, Yeah, we're missing Trinice. Let's see. There is a question for Trinice, but she's not able to get back on. But we promise that we will answer the question and get the response to her. It must be up earlier in the chat.
It's in the ask a question section, Angie.
No, it's that's the only one. It's the only one that was okay, there it is. There's a new one. Okay, there we go. Because the other one disappeared. Okay, this is from Jen. Okay, for Trinice or anyone, I heard that you spoke on abundance and scarcity mindset in the industry and community. Can you speak to that again and how that relates to how we give our time and share resources? Thank you, Jen.
I really hate Pastor Watts is not here to send us home on a good note. But I think this relates to every aspect of life, not just the beer community. You know, if you operate from a point of scarcity and lack, you're going to think, okay, I have a finite amount of resources, whether that's your time, your energy, your intellect, your money, whatever it is. And so if you go into any situation with that mindset, you're not going to be as willing to be open to opportunities versus if you are operating from a mindset of abundance. Even if you know you have a limited set of resources, that mindset is like, okay, I've got X amount. What can I do with this X amount? How can I give a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit over here, but still have that same intention, that same love, that same desire to see whatever that end goal is be achieved. So for me, I think that's the simplest way to put it. I mean, let's be real. It's hard out here sometimes for all of us. And if you like myself are saving to open up your own brewery, like you may not have money to hire a fancy dancy DEIJ consultant. But what you can do is get involved with people in your community, get involved with pillars in communities that you don't necessarily identify as a member of, but you have a love and a desire to support, and just connect and build those relationships if they're not there already. And I think that goes back to, feeling like I have to do this big grand gesture. Again, I'm going to age myself. Um, I'm a very simple woman. My ex used to tell me all I needed was fresh vegetables and a hug, which is very true. That's most days that's all that I need. But and say anything, right? Everybody remembers that iconic scene. All he had was a boombox, but the intention was there, the love was there, the commitment was there to show up, right? It didn't have to be a horse-drawn carriage and a 16-piece band. It just was simply that boombox and his presence. And so I encourage you all to show up, give your presence, and whatever resource you do have available, it will be more than enough, I promise you.
Well, ladies, we have come to the end of our session. It has been, as I said, it's been rich um, and full of just amazing information. Because I don't know if you saw my face, but I was like, "What? Oh, that was not fake. That was real. It was. I promise y'all, it's real. Every time I come with these ladies and have discussions, I learn something new that I was not aware of that I'm going to share. So definitely, if there's at least two or three things that you can share from this session today, share it with someone. Share it with someone, and that will trigger them to. That may get them started. That may give them that extra push that they needed. So make sure that y'all do that. So I just want to thank again Trinice, Watts, Ashley, Randolph, and Sarah Perez. Thank you. Lifting Lucy. My name is Angie Thomas. I forgot to introduce myself. Angie Thomas. I'm the undeniable vixen. I was so excited. I was so excited. I'm the undeniable vixen. So if y'all see me Y'all are gonna see them because I'm pushing my friends up. I'm pushing my women up, and I hope that y'all do the same. I hope y'all enjoy the rest of the summit, and y'all have a great afternoon.